Hello children, welcome to VKSS Physics Clinic. Today we are going to discuss the last part of this chapter, dual nature of matter and radiation, and we will be discussing how we can determine the value of Planck's constant using photoelectric effect equation. Okay? Remember, in the previous video we already discussed what exactly is photoelectric effect in detail, and also we went through extensively what is Einstein theory of photoelectric effect, right? So we will first finish the graphical approach using which we will be able to determine the value of work function of a metal, and also we will be determining the value of Planck's constant. Okay? So determination of Planck's constant, and Planck's constant is an important universal constant denoted by H, and we have been using it very often, okay, in our calculations. You see, if you go by Einstein's equation, we know using Einstein's equation, children, the maximum kinetic energy of electron is K max is equal to h nu minus W, right? Where nu is the frequency of the incident light and W is the work function. Now, children, if stopping potential is V naught, if stopping potential equals to V naught, then we know kinetic energy is EV 0. If you remember, we studied graphically the variation of stopping potential with respect to the frequency of the incident light. This is the graph that we had got. This is stopping potential V naught, and x axis is showing what? The frequency. And if you remember, children, the graph had come like this, right? And this frequency actually is nu 0, the threshold frequency. Now, so we already have this knowledge that if you plot a graph between stopping potential and frequency, I'll write in words. This is stopping potential, I've written in short ST for this, and then nu is frequency. They'll often ask this question: plot a graph between stopping potential and frequency and use it to determine the value of Planck's constant, also the work function. Now children, if I equate 1 and 2 here in the equation, let's come back to the equation, equate 1 and 2, then we get EV naught is equal to h nu minus W. And if we divide both sides by E, then what do we get? V naught is equal to h by E into nu minus W by E. This is equation 3. Now this equation is very significant, children. Remember that we are plotting graph in V naught and nu. So if I study this equation, this is basically a linear equation in terms of frequency and the stopping potential, and this equation can be very easily compared with y is equal to mx plus c. If I compare, in place of y, what do I have? V naught, you can say on the y axis, and instead of x I have here what? Nu. Now the other parameters are m is replaced by h by e, and c is replaced by w minus w by e. Now see, in the graph c is actually negative. If I extend this graph backwards, then actually this is the y-intercept. This. The y-intercept is negative. So this will be basically minus c, right? It will have a negative value. So if I compare here 3 and 4, so equation equation 4 resembles equation 3. So by comparing, if we compare children, then h by e will be equal to how much? M. H by e will be equal to m. And what is m? Slope. So e will be equal to e into slope. So if you know the slope, here we can calculate Planck's constant. Okay. Thus, by knowing the slope, the value of slope m, and m we can easily calculate theta. M is equal to how much? Tan theta. So we will say here, by knowing slope, h can be calculated. So we have been able to calculate h by knowing the value of slope. Now how we can calculate the intercept? We can very well do so by looking at the graph. This intercept on the y-axis. Now if I compare, then w by e will be equal to what? C, and C is what? Slope on the y-axis. Again, w by e is equal to y-intercept, that is equal to C. So how much is w? Therefore, work function w is equal to e into C. Well, what is C, children? C is y-intercept. So children, by knowing the value of slope, we can easily determine the value of h, and by knowing the value of y-intercept, we can easily calculate the value of w. Now this was very successfully done by R.A. Millikan after his experiment. He calculated the slope, and therefore he was also able to determine the value of h, because R.A. Millikan carried out his famous Nobel Prize winning experiment, that is oil drop experiment, and he determined a certain what is the charge of electron. So he knew already the value of electron. He calculated the slope by multiplying. He got the value of h, and this actually led to the foundation of the theory which are proposed by Albert Einstein about the dual nature of radiations, right? Because this implied a correct value which was calculated using other experiments. Okay, so we understand how significant this experiment was, because by using this we can establish the value of h, and therefore Einstein theory of photoelectric effect was also well established because of this. Okay, so I hope you have understood it now. Once you understand it, then we will be discussing the next part of this chapter, which is dual nature of matter, awave nature of matter. Okay, and de Broglie's theory will be discussed under this, right? Okay. Now children, we will be discussing matter waves actually. You see, we discussed in the previous lectures why it has become imperative to assume radiation to be wave, radiation to be what? Matter, not just the wave but also matter, because of energy also they have got momentum also, right? Even though the rest mass of photon is 0, but it is having momentum h nu by c, therefore it is what? Behaving like a matter, and it is also working like a matter because it is able to dislodge one electron from a given metal, right? So that's like metallic behavior. Now there was a French physicist, his name was Louis de Broglie. In fact, we call Louis de Broglie. He proposed a theory that we call de Broglie's theory of matter waves. You see, the foundation for this theory actually came from Einstein's theory. According to Einstein's equation of mass and energy equivalence, we know that E is equal to mc square. M is mass. Mass shows which property? Matter property. And then energy is what? So this is basically matter property, and energy is what? Wave property. So in this equation we see there is a clear symmetry between the two forms. Earlier we discussed that radiations actually act as what? Matter. But that can be the other way around also, because this result is showing there is a symmetry between mass and energy. Now, Louis de Broglie had an argument. He said, just as radiations can exist in matter, and there is a symmetry between mass and energy given by Einstein's equation. Therefore, he said that if a particle is actually having energy and is moving, then it must also behave as a wave. There is a symmetry. Just like wave acts as a particle, then the particle must also act as a what? Wave, provided the particle has what? Energy. And for having energy, the particle has to move. Not necessarily move, it can also have potential energy. But let us not discuss this aspect of it. Let us see the kinetic aspect of it. So, for having energy, the particle has to move. Even in this equation also, velocity is implied. So, he said that there is a symmetry between the matter and the waveforms, and just as wave is existing as a matter, so matter must also exist as a wave. And hence, he proposed that any particle which is moving, a particle meaning mass, and is moving means it has got momentum. So, he said that any particle in motion behaves as a wave. So, if you try to find out whether you are also a wave, then according to Louis de Broglie's theory, Louis de Broglie we read, but we read this as what? Louis de Broglie, B-R-O-I. According to Louis de Broglie's theory, every matter is a wave. So, I am also a wave, you are also a wave. But the question is, can our wavelengths be determined? Because every wave must have a wavelength, right? The answer is that the wavelength associated with macroscopic objects, large objects, is too small, and we don't have devices to measure them. Maybe in the years to come there will be devices that will be able to measure wavelengths which is smaller than even 10 minus 34 meter, or even much smaller than that. Maybe in the years to come, but as of now we don't have devices which will be able to measure these wavelengths. So, with microscopic objects this phenomenon is easily noticeable. However, with macroscopic objects, even though they are acting as wave, the wavelength is so small that it is difficult to determine them. We don't have the instrument to determine their wavelength. So, we come back to Louis de Broglie's theory. What the theory says is, according to this theory, a particle in motion behaves as a wave. So, if a particle in motion behaving as a wave, it must have a wavelength, right? So, we will be seeing his equation for wavelength. De Broglie said that wavelength is inversely proportional to the momentum of the particle, meaning more the momentum, lesser the wavelength. Lesser the momentum, more the wavelength. And now the wave which is associated with the matter is actually called what? Matter wave. So, de Broglie's theory of matter waves. Matter waves. Okay. What is the theory? The theory says that a particle, when I say particle means a mass, right? A particle in motion acts as a wave. A particle in motion acts as a what? Wave. It creates its own ripples. If it is a wave, it must have a wavelength. Achha, one more thing, that wave associated with matter, wave associated with matter is called matter wave. Wave associated with matter is known as what? Matter wave. So, matter which is in motion is acting as a wave. So, it is having a wavelength also. How much is the wavelength? According to de Broglie's theory, wavelength of momentum. Now, very important for you to know. According to de Broglie's theory, wavelength of matter wave is inversely proportional to what? Momentum. So, lambda is inversely proportional to P, or lambda is equal to H by P, where H is called Planck's constant. H is what? Planck's constant. And what is its value? Its value is nearly 6.63. In fact, it is 6.623, but we will be writing 63. We will round it off. 10 minus 34 joules second. Right? Now, mass of the particle is m and the velocity is v. Suppose I have a particle of mass m, is moving the velocity what? V. So, how much the momentum? P is equal to m into v. If I put m, P is equal to m into v in this equation, then what is the wavelength? Lambda is equal to h by m into v. Okay? Like suppose I say here, what is now, suppose you ask a question, what is wavelength of matter wave associated with the cricket ball of mass 100 gram moving at 144 km per hour? Let us say this, it could be a factual problem. So, mass is 100 gram, which is 0.1 kilogram, and the velocity is 144 km per hour. We'll change this into what? Meter per second. So, how much will be that? It will be 144 into 5 by 18. So, 8 times it goes 40 meter per second. Clear? Therefore, lambda will be h by m into v. 6.63 10 power minus 34 is the value of h, and let's put the values of mass and velocity. It is 0.1 into 40. So, lambda becomes 6.63 10 power minus 34 divided by 4. Clear? So, it will be how much? It will be 1.34 meter. See children, this wavelength is very small. It is so small that it cannot be determined. This wavelength cannot be determined using any device that is existing today. So, when a macroscopic particle is moving, the wavelength will become very small and it will be difficult to determine it. However, when small subatomic particles like electrons, protons, when they move with large velocities, the mass is very small, then their wavelength comes into the measurable range, and also it's of the same order as the spacing between two planes of crystals. Almost of this order, this is one plane, this is another plane. So it comes of the same order as the distance between the two planes of crystals. Clear? So this theory is valid for all kind of objects, big and small, but in case of larger objects, what do you find? The wavelength becomes very small, so small that it is not possible to measure it. Now many times when you are doing sums, they will not give you this direct value of velocity. So, you will not be able to calculate momentum directly. They will give you the value of kinetic energy. So, if kinetic energy is given, then what will you do? Or for that matter, if they give you suppose a situation where electron is being selected through potential difference so and so, calculate wavelength of the matter wave. So, how will you do it? I will be showing the shortcut formulas for this that we can use. Okay. So, we will be now discussing the next topic after this, that is how we can calculate wavelength of matter wave when kinetic energy is given and when in case of electron potential difference is given. Okay. So, this formula is important, make sure you remember. We will be doing these special cases. Case 1, when kinetic energy is K. Kinetic energy is K. I can write E also, there is no problem. Then children, you know that K is equal to half mv square. Multiply both sides with m. So m square v square is equal to how much? 2mk. And this shows that v is equal to how much? Root over 2m. So, if kinetic energy is known to you, you can replace mv by root 2m k, and then we get lambda is equal to h by root over 2m k. This is an interesting equation that we will be using when kinetic energy is given. Now, a very special equation, if case 2, an electron is accelerated through potential difference is equal to V. When electron is accelerated through potential difference is equal to V, of course, V will be given in volts. If suppose they give in kilovolts, multiply the 1000 converted into volts. Then children, we know that K is equal to how much? E into V. So, how much will be lambda? H by root over 2m E into V. Now, so children, H, M and E, all these are constants. So, we can write here lambda is equal to, if we solve, it becomes 12.23 angstrom. You can simplify, I can directly use this formula. This will give you the wavelength of matter wave in angstrom, or 1.226 by square root of V nanometer. If you are calculating, in fact, this 12.2, 1.223 over 6 we are writing, I can also wind up with 1.23 divided by root V nanometer. Okay. So, these two formulas, this formula and this formula will be very handy for you for numerical. Suppose they ask you what will be now here is a very simple question, what will be wavelength of matter wave associated matter wave of electron after it gets accelerated through a potential difference of 10 kilovolt. So, V is how much children? 10 kilovolt, 10 into 10 power 3, 10 power 4 volt. So, I can directly use first formula or the second formula. Suppose I want to use the first formula, then lambda will be how much I have? 12.26 divided by root over 10 to the power 4, 12.26 divided by 100, 1.226 angstrom. So you can easily do numericals. Now there are certain properties of matter waves that you have to know. Properties of matter waves. What are properties of matter waves? First one is they are produced only when the particle is in motion. If the particle is not moving, then how much is the momentum? 0. And if you divide the number by 0, how much you get? Infinite. Okay. So first they are produced by moving particles or moving objects. Okay. Number 2, they are not electromagnetic waves. They are not EMWs. They are not electromagnetic waves. Then they are not affected by electric and magnetic fields. They are not affected by electric and magnetic fields. Clear? Now the fourth property is their wavelength may not be measurable. Their wavelength may not be measurable. Many times when the objects, microscopic objects, macroscopic, not microscopic, macroscopic, large bodies which are moving at a very slow speed, which have very large momentum, high velocity, greater mass, their wavelength cannot be determined. Clear? Now this was very bold theory, and in fact this theory is just the converse of the dual nature of radiations. Here you have dual nature of matter, right? But this theory was able to explain many observed phenomena. When you combine with Born's theory, the probability density function, understand? It is very well able to explain the uncertainty principle, even Bohr's model of quantization of angular momentum, and so many more observed phenomena, right? So we went through Lee de Broglie's theory. So make sure that you go through this in detail, okay? And then there are simple numericals also that we discussed just now. Similar numericals you get about comparing wavelengths also. So you can compare where kinetic energy is, ratio will be given, ratio of masses will be given. So you can calculate what will be ratio of the wavelengths of the matter waves. Okay children, so only this much. Thank you.